Hi guys, and welcome to my review for Like No Other, The Legend of the Twin Books. Stay with me whilst I tell you my thoughts and why I think this would be a bad purchase. The town of Red Pines has been evacuated due to a sizable earthquake. Legend has it that the centrepiece of the museum, the Spirit's Book, was expertly replicated, and the museum staff took the copy and left the original behind when fleeing. Dan sets off to Red Pines to see if the legend is true and to retrieve the original Spirit's Book. Like no other, The Legend of the Twin Books is a short, point-and-click adventure that lasts around 2 to 3 hours. This game was bizarre, and not in a good way. It is understandable that there are no characters in the town of Red Pines due to the evacuation, but it seems like a convenient way not to have to think about characters' design, character development and plot, and without any other characters the game is just dull. There isn't even much of a story. Some random person, for whatever reason, goes to town which has been strangely evacuated to try and obtain a book. We never get any indication what this book does. Does he want the book for profit? Does he want it because it holds mystical powers? Who knows? It is never explained. We just know he wants it. Why a whole town is evacuated because of an earthquake is never elaborated on either. But you just go with it. That is where the mystery and story ends. There is no development at all. No character development because there are none, and no story development. He goes for the book, gets the book, the end. The game is purely a vehicle for the puzzles. So what are the puzzles like? Are they enough to rescue the game? I'm afraid the answer is no, not for an adult anyway. They are far too easy in the main, uninspired and uninteresting. For a start, there is no inventory combinations.
It's jammed.
Now, inventory combinations are not everyone's cup of tea, especially when they are all illogical or unobvious, but it is another example of how basic this game is and how stripped down it feels. The inventory is also a little annoying to use. Items are never automatically selected if needed. For example, a lock to a door doesn't automatically open if you own the correct key. You have to access your inventory and choose the correct item. This got very tiresome when an item had to be repetitively used, like the golf club to work the elevator. Please just permanently place the thing in the shaft, rather than having to get it out each time you need to ride the elevator, which was a lot. Your inventory also contains items that you used to own but no longer carry. They show a picture of the said item but have a 0 next to them. This just clutters the inventory with unnecessary items, but to be fair, it doesn't really cause an issue, but it is just another weird choice. There were some puzzles which offered a mild challenge, but they were mostly quite straightforward, especially if you are au fait with the genre. They were all puzzles I had seen before, and again, no puzzle relied on conversations or travelling to different places and returning.
There's something
Each puzzle
odd
felt
about
quite
this
localised, as the gameplay area is reasonably small. The game is broken up into 2 halves,
There's nothing
with
useful
the second
here.
half being much more enjoyable than the first. The first area was plagued with the elevator rides up and down and up and down, each time opening your inventory to select the club, and there was hardly any locations to visit. The ones that did exist were very similar looking, and there were so many red herrings. Nearly every item Dan examined was of no interest to him. Occasionally a description of something interesting like a statue was available, but the response was never clever or witty, and items he did collect you couldn't examine further in your inventory. I think there are about 10 items in total in the whole game. The game has a strange way of controlling the character. Dan can move freely using the controller in a third-person view like an action game, yet he still has to rely on the mouse cursor to highlight objects. This really threw me to start off with, as I was running up to objects expecting them to light up so that I could interact with them, but nothing was highlighting. I then realised that the cursor was on the other side of the screen and I had to move it to over the object. It's quite rare to have such freedom of movement in a point and click game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the pointer always lags behind you. Just add it to the quirky list of features, I guess. There are 20 canisters to find to get an achievement. They aren't necessary to progress, but they are a bit of fun to find, and some are cleverly hidden. There's no chapter select or scene choosing afterwards, so you will need to play the game again if you miss any achievements. The graphics are quite nice and have a retro feel about them. He looks a bit odd when he walks around, but it adds to the charm. Whenever a rare cutscene initiates, it is always well drawn and voice acting is done well. There is an ambient hum in the background, and Dan makes exaggerated footstep noises as he moves. All the sound effects are realistic and done to a high standard.
Gran had already lit the fire.
Okay,
She kept a warm house.
that's all for today. My next review will be for Beacon Pines, a story-rich, casual, visual novel type adventure where not everything is what it seems. If you enjoy cute casual adventures, make sure to check that one out by clicking the notification bell. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, and see you soon.